Om Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, may God protect us. May God nourish us. May we work together with energy and vigor. May our study be enlightening and not give rise to misunderstandings. Om, peace, peace, peace. Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanura Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. I salute Krishna, the Guru of the universe, God, the son of Vasudeva, the destroyer of Kamsa and Chanura, the supreme bliss of Devaki. Welcome, everyone. Nice to see you all. We'll continue working. Wow, I can see the title of my my paper today. It says class number 23. 23 classes. And so far we have reached verse number 48. Today, hopefully, we'll finish at 49 and 50, the 50th verse from the chapter number 2, the Yoga of Knowledge. For those who are not here, these talks are available online on YouTube, so you can search for them and catch up with our last class. But it's hard to continue if I do not somehow prepare the ground. So let me do that. To recap a little bit, we talked about how important it is for us to understand that the source of all security and the source of all bliss is within ourselves. We usually look for it outside, in the outside world, through our senses. We make that mistake and we get attached, and that's a problem. What the Katha Upanishad says, the Creator has made our senses outward bound. This is why we ordinarily perceive the external world and not the capital Self. Some poised men, however, desirous of immortality, realize the self after drawing their senses away from sense objects. We will explain this. Indeed, and the goal is to become one of these poised men. By men, meaning no gender, men and women. Naturally, our senses are attracted by the charming things of this world. And what is the result? We get trapped. We get attached. We get addicted to outside sources and forget the unlimited, independent, ever-existing, ever-fulfilling source of bliss within us. Unlimited, independent, ever-existing, ever-fulfilling. What is that fulfills ourself? When our heart is full, then there is no need. You remain silent or just happy. Karma Yoga is all about learning, training ourselves to be the master and not the slave. The process of karma is a learning process, and we can't afford to remain ignorant. Just like you say you are a kid and you need to go to school. You need to learn. In order to learn, you sacrifice your time. No, you don't watch TV all day. You go to school. Sometimes it's painful. Who wants to remember those days? But the result is, after a while, after a few years, you know. So with us. So with our actions. That's why in verse number 47, Sri Krishna was encouraging us to work. And he also told us how to work. And he will also continue telling us in verse number 48. He calls it yoga, the yoga of work. The process of karma is a learning process, and we can't afford to remain ignorant. We need to learn how to live this life. But when you need to learn something, you go through a training process. That training process is our life based in action, in karma. We can't avoid doing karma, which means every single moment is an opportunity for learning. We have to keep this in mind. I'm talking to you, this is karma. You are listening, this is karma. We breathe, this is karma. Everything we do, physical or mental, is karma. And it leaves its marks on us. What are those marks? Anyone? Samskaras, which eventually turn into? Yes, our personality, our character. And the goal of karma yoga is to become like God, yes.
Free.
A divine character, free, freedom. The goal of karma yoga is freedom. Freedom from what? And from this labyrinth. From this labyrinth we call the world. We are like, where to go, where is the way out? The karma yogi knows, so that's the way out. And here it comes. Do karma, Krishna says, therefore. That's the only way to learn. We will eventually get rid of making the same mistake again and again. I heard once, you may not like this word animal, but human beings are the only animals who make the same mistake again and again. Yes. So we should learn, when we burn ourselves with hot milk, then we see milk and it's like, no, not again. Eventually we will get there. And that is good, because it will give us this passion, detachment. This passion means vairagya, that love, that longingness, that longing that is required. In Bengali, Bangla, it's called vyakulata. And if you get that, if you have that, be sure you have everything. Work constantly, work, but be not attached, be not caught. This life is for us and not otherwise. The only way out is to master ourselves. We have to become like black belts in the martial arts of life. That of course is not easy. Takes time, takes a lot of training. You fall, you get up, clean yourself, keep walking. But the karma yogi knows, as Gertie was saying, the goal of life is freedom. He knows that he's learning. So don't be too hard on yourselves. You make a mistake, you see, you observe it, and do what you have to do. No matter how much time it takes. There is no other way. It requires effort, commitment, discipline, acceptance, and one of the most important ingredients, tranquility, calmness. Disidentification is required. Disidentification is required. Master yourself by the capital Self. Change the vision of who you are. Stop identifying with this human body and all the labels you have put upon it. Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi, O Shvetaketu. Thou art that. Thou art that self. Therefore work, but be not attached. That is the message of verse number 47. How to do that? Here is where Bhakti Yoga comes into the picture. For those who like Bhakti, we'll talk about it. Bhakti Yoga. What is Bhakti Yoga? Get hold of the Lord. In the words of our teacher, Swami Vivekananda, be, therefore, not a beggar. Be unattached. This is the most terrible task of life. Even if our every attempt is a failure, and we bleed and are torn asunder, yet through all this, we have to preserve our heart. We have to preserve our heart. Even if the attempt is a failure, we have to preserve our heart. Do you understand? Can you all follow me?
How can you lose your heart? What does it mean to lose your heart?
It will come. You will get it. We must assert our Godhead. In the midst of all these difficulties, nature wants us to react, to return blow for blow, cheating for cheating, lie for lie, to hit back with all our might. Then it requires super divine power. Again, super divine. Yes, I like it. I like the word super divine. The other day was a little controversial, the word. Why super divine? Well, super divine means super divine. Not to hit back, to keep control, to be unattached. In verse number 48, Sri Krishna was saying, Yogasta kuru karmani sangam tyaktva dhananjaya siddhya siddhyo samo bhutva samatvan yoga uchyate. Being steadfast in yoga, O Dhananjaya, perform actions, abandoning attachment, remaining unconcerned as regards success and failure. Be steadfast in yoga. What is this yoga? This evenness of mind in regard to success and failure is known as yoga. Perform every action with your heart fixed on the Supreme Lord. Renounce attachment to the fruits. Be even-tempered in success and failure, for it is this evenness of temper, which is meant by yoga. There is an example. The master orders his servant to go to the next village and bring a particular person. The servant goes on the errand accordingly, but finds the person absent. There is no disappointment in him for this failure. He is commissioned to go on another day on which he is able to find the required person. There is no special elation over success now. The servant is simply satisfied with carrying out orders effectively. It is in this manner that the yogi holds the success and failures of his endeavors free from attachment and aversion. Desire the desire of him who is without desire. Elva says we have to be like gods. Yes. How would God act? We have to think. Desire the desire of him, capital Him, who is without desire. Attachments are not good, but there is only one attachment which is worth it. That is attachment to that which transcends all attachments, attachment to God. In chapter 12, we find like a summary of this message. Chapter 12 is the yoga of bhakti, the yoga of love, bhakti yoga. Mayeva mana adatsva, mayi buddhim niveshaya, nivasishyasi mayeva, ata urdhvam na samshaya. Fix your mind on me only. Place thy intellect in me, then thou shalt no doubt live in me hereafter. Atachittam samadhatum na shaknoshi maistiram, abhyasa yogena tato mamichattum dhananjaya. If thou art unable to fix thy mind steadily on me, then by abhyasa yoga do thou seek to reach me. Now, abhyasa yoga means the practice of repeatedly withdrawing the mind from the objects to which it wanders and trying to fix it on one thing. That one thing is, who is God? That is the question that is, we all just like, what is God? Well, here we mean Brahman. Now, Brahman is hard to reach, it's so abstract, the word Brahman. So when we mention God here, it's up to you to choose your God, but you really need to give this interpretation that is the absolute. Thus, it is spoken in our scriptures regarding constant remembering as a means to liberation. Thus, it is spoken in the scriptures regarding constant remembering, constant recollection as a means to liberation. He who is near can be seen, but he who is far can only be remembered. Nevertheless, the scripture says that we have to see him who is near as well as him who is far, thereby indicating to us that the above kind of remembering is as good as seeing. This remembrance, when exalted, assumes the same form as seeing. In jnana language, what do you have to remember? Who are you? In bhakti language, just remember God. Abhyasepya samarthosi matkarma paramo bhava madarthamapi karmani kurvam siddhim avapsyasi. If also thou art unable to practice this abhyasa yoga, this practice of repeatedly withdrawing the mind from the objects to which it wanders. Does it happen to you? When you go and sit in the shrine and try to meditate, you're like, withdrawing the mind. Never mind, the mind will go somewhere. Just come back. Keep coming back. Now, to come back to what? You need an object of meditation. Now, many of us meditate upon an Ishtadevata, a form which reminds us God. Could be Jesus, could be Mary, could be Sri Ramakrishna. But that object, you keep coming back to it. Now, if that is also difficult, then Lord Krishna says, be thou intent on doing actions for my sake. What does it mean? This verse is the verse number 10, chapter 12, 10 chapters ahead. But see, he's telling you, doing actions for my sake, karma yoga. Even by doing actions for my sake, thou shalt attain perfection. Every single thing you do, just offer it to the Lord. Every single thing you do, just offer it to Him. And by doing that, these are His words, Lord Krishna, I believe you will attain perfection. Sounds good? Sounds like a good deal to me. In reference to that, all power is His and within His command. Through His command, the winds blow, the sun shines, the earth lives, and death stalks upon the earth. He is the all in all. He is the all and in all. We can only worship Him. How? By remembering Him. Give up all fruits of work. Do good for its own sake. Then alone will come perfect non-attachment. The bonds of the heart will thus break, and we shall reap perfect freedom. This freedom is indeed the goal of karma yoga. Verse number 11, chapter 12. Atei tadapya shaknosi kartum madhyogam ashritaha sarva karma phalatyagam tatah kuru yatatmavan. If thou, again, are unable to do even this, then taking refuge in me, abandon the fruit of all action, just abandon them. Give them up. Being self-controlled. Siddhi asiddhyo samaha bhutva. Siddhi means success. Asiddhi means failure. Bhutva samaha, being the same. If action is not to be undertaken by one who is under the impulsion of the fruits of action, how then are they to be undertaken? O Dhananjaya, O Arjuna, by becoming established in yoga. Equanimity is called yoga. Develop equanimity both in success and failure by having the appropriate attitude towards them. The nature of the mind is to be elated in success and dejected in failure, but by remaining unperturbed by either, the mind gets clarity and firmness. Samatvam yoga uchyate, evenness of mind. Undertake actions, remaining samaha, equipoised. Am I saying it right? Equipoised in success and failure. This even-mindedness is called equilibrium. He is a yogi who keeps the mind in this poised state under all circumstances. He is a yogi who keeps his mind in this poised state under all circumstances. Spiritual growth is possible to him who keeps the mind ever poised, even in the success characterized by the attainment of knowledge that arises from the purification of the mind when one performs action or actions without hankering for results. Sometimes we feel like, oh, I'm growing in yoga. I'm being so unselfish. I'm so good. Boom. Wrong. Even there, you have to practice that evenness. Shankaracharya points this out. And in the failure that arises from its opposite, meaning ignorance, if we fall again, never mind. Just be aware of it. Arising from the impurity of the mind. This indeed is that samatvam, equanimity in success and failure, which is called yoga. It is that eternal love, unruffled equanimity under all circumstances, making happiness and misery the same, making success and failure the same. M is disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, the lay disciple, humbly asked, how ought we to live in the world? Master, do all your duties, but keep your mind on God. Live with all, with wife and children, father and mother, and serve them. Treat them as if they were very dear to you, but know in your heart of hearts, that they do not belong to you. A maid servant in the house of a rich man performs all the household duties, but her thoughts are fixed on her own home in her native village. She brings up her master's children as if they were her own. She even speaks of them as my Rama, my Hari, my boy. But in her own mind, she knows very well that they do not belong to her at all. Do you see it? The tortoise moves about in the water, but can you guess where her thoughts are? There on the bank, where her eggs lie. Do all your duties in the world, but keep your mind on God. If you enter the world without first cultivating love for God, you will be entangled more and more. This is more or less what happens to all of us. You will be overwhelmed with its danger, its grief, its sorrows. And the more you think of worldly things, the more you will be attached to them. First, rub your hands with oil and then break open the jackfruit. We talked about it last class. Otherwise, you will be smeared with its sticky milk. First, secure the oil of divine love, and then set your hands to the duties of the world. Master, that is a good attitude. It is good to look on God as the master and oneself as his servant. This is all related with the verse that I just read from the Gita, so that you can have different standpoints of the same teaching. In this particular case, coming from the Master Sri Ramakrishna, and also Swami Dhyanayogananda, who I'm quoting. As long as a man feels the body, as long as a man, a woman, feels the body to be real, does it happen to you? Yeah.
Of course.
As long as he or she is conscious of I and you, it is good to keep the relationship of master and servant. It is not good to cherish the idea of I am he, which is true, but it's hard because you are the subject and object. You lose yourself. Therefore, we have to forget ourselves by means of God. Verse number 49. Durena hyavaram karma buddhi yoga dhananjaya buddhau sharanaman vichha kripana phalahetavaha. Work done with anxiety about results. Work done with anxiety about results is far inferior to work done without such anxiety. In the calm of self-surrender, seek refuge in the knowledge of Brahman. What is the knowledge of Brahman? The knowledge of Brahman. Seek refuge in the knowledge of Brahman. By now, oneness. Oneness. The one without a second is called Brahman. That means, is there any I and you? Although it feels like, but in reality, it's all the same Brahman. Existence absolute, awareness. Today somebody was telling me knowing. Okay, knowing absolute and bliss. bliss absolute. Seek refuge in that knowledge, because that is what you really are. That's what the message of the scriptures. You better accept it. Otherwise, all these, you have to accept who you are. They who work selfishly for results are miserable. Motivated karma is far inferior to that performed in the equanimity of mind. Take refuge in the evenness of the mind. Wretched are the result seekers. Now again, to comment this verse again, I remember the most important ingredient we talked about in the beginning was samatvam, calmness. In other words, it's the attitude I'm going to have towards my actions and God, myself. The essential secret of the one who is practicing the yoga of karma, the source of her strength, resides in his or her attitude. What is the meaning of this? Every time I do something, last class, I was expecting to finish with verse number 49. I couldn't fulfill my expectations. Should I have reacted? I can't. I mean, just in front of you, I guess. But I don't know. You give me examples. You think about examples in your daily life. You are expecting a phone call. It's your birthday. He or she is not calling you. And it was like,
Swami, it would be delightful to see you throw a fit.
I don't think it's possible.
it's possible.
Let's not find out.
All right. That's no. You never know. As long as you live in this human body. The settled way of thinking or feeling that is reflected in our behavior. It's a mental state. The difference is not in action, but in attitude. You see? It's all about attitude. You have to be positive, always. Even when it is negative, just be positive. Because the karma yogi knows, I am learning. So, it is our own mental attitude which makes the world what it is for us. Our thoughts make things beautiful. Our thoughts make things ugly. The whole world is in our own minds. Learn to see things in the proper light.
Swami?
Yes.
So that's a practice, like a daily practice. And,
Yes.
And I'm constantly knowing that I don't do that.
That's fine.
Somebody will cut me off, or while I'm driving.
Mm-hmm.
Or,
You just roll down the window.
yeah, what do you do? What do you do if you get like in
Well,
a circumstance where somebody cuts you off or does something that?
Well, let me tell you, every single day in the morning, we get phone calls.
Yeah.
Ring, 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 and you go, it's like we are having breakfast and pick up the phone. Sir, stop what you are doing.
Oh, no.
Listen to what I have to tell you. And I'm like,
Yeah. The landlines, the don't call list. That's what you have to call.
Yeah, I was telling Amal today, we should do something about it.
But how do you
how do you deal with it? You just do what you have to do.
Yeah. Just
But
hang up and
but
then do your breakfast.
you can hiss, but not bite.
Yeah.
You know, the same thing happens to me, and sometimes I feel like I wish I could call them in the middle of the night, early in the morning, and bug them.
Did you feel like that?
But I don't like feeling like that. So, you know, you're just.
But seriously, well, you see, I mean, this is more like an inner attitude. If you just feel like expressing yourself, without harming others, without saying words that will eventually come back to you, or thoughts that will come back to you, you just feel free to express it. In a funny way, you can laugh. It's the attitude that what matters. It's not that you have to be like a saint, Just be yourself, but again, be aware, having a positive attitude. Have fun. Just like he was saying. So they called again. I mean, they called constantly all the time. But so they called again in the afternoon, and I pick up the phone. I'm like, please stop calling. Please stop it. She was like, can you please tell Edward Acebo to call me back? But he says, well, the same thing. I know who she is. He's the Capital One girl. Anyways, you get the idea. It's your attitude. It's your attitude. It is our mental attitude which makes the world what it is for us. Our thoughts make things beautiful.
Once Swami Dhyanayogananda was sharing about this, about the duality of perception,
Mm-hmm.
and saying that the thing that would be really helpful is if I can see the gift in all my experiences,
Mm-hmm.
and that really helps.
Yes. Well, the gift is this. This is what a karma yogi is.
Yes.
I'm learning. This is an opportunity for me to learn, to apply this in my life. Even if you make the mistake again, well, all right, get up, stand up.
I have something to say.
Mm-hmm.
Animals really help with stress and stuff, like before you get on the boat or something, because there's a lot of crazy drivers now, but you have like a dog or something, give your dogs a hug and a kiss, and then that'll make you a lot more peaceful on the road, or before you get on the phone, like say hi to your dogs, or when you come home, lay down with your dogs for a little bit, because dogs know how to relax, because they spend most of the day sleeping and stuff.
Well, yeah, sure, that's a good advice. Yeah. Well, I do that every morning. I have sadhu and diosa. So every morning after breakfast, I start searching for them. I start,
I heard him barking at the police sirens. Or he was howling. He was like,
Oh yeah, sometimes, yeah. So I don't. Yes, there is something about pets. They just, I don't know, transform the energy of, Probably it's that what you give love. That's what you get.
They know when you're having a tough day too. They can see it on your face or something. They'll be like, "What's wrong?"
Yeah, you're amazing. Yeah, I love animals. Okay, if you see something evil, think that you are not understanding it in the right light. Throw the burden on yourselves. Whenever we are tempted to say that the world is going to the dogs, speaking of which, we ought to analyze ourselves, and we shall find that we have lost the faculty of seeing things as they are. Good and bad. It is what it is. This is the world. Can't change that. When there is good, there has to be bad. Otherwise, how would you know that it's good? So, acceptance. And in that acceptance, calmness, know that everything is okay. Everything is going to be all right, Bob Marley used to say. Let's avoid anxiety, let's avoid stress, karma, action undertaken by one, longing for the results, is indeed quite by far inferior, very remote from the yoga of wisdom, from actions undertaken by equanimity of mind for adoring, worshipping God. Actions undertaken with longing for results are the cause of birth and death.
Swami, why do you think, because in this society that we live, everything is like we're trying to rush to get results. And I'm thinking it's part of the mind to want to get results. Why do you think it has that propensity? Why does the mind have that propensity of want to get a satisfaction or results? Why do you think that is?
Well, you can't avoid action. And naturally, whatever you do, you want results that will fulfill your expectations. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Either way, offer them. Practice yoga, practice equanimity. Of course, anything you do, you have to do it with your heart. And if you know that your heart is there, know for sure that the result will be taken care by itself. So if you want to be successful, be successful. Be not attached to it. But please, be successful. Who wants otherwise?
So with preserving our heart, we're supposed to have our heart and our minds focused on God and in that love with God, so that rather than the attachments of the other things that we desire, because we're supposed to let go of those attachments and give them and basically just say, God, whatever it is that you desire for me. And so that way we aren't attached to the things.
You are attached to God.
Yes, exactly.
You're attached to giving Him the best you can.
Mm-hmm.
You are attached to be as efficient, as much efficient as you can be, because you are working for your Lord. You are working for your Lord, for God. You are working for that absolute, who doesn't make any difference, neither for me, nor for you, nor for anyone. For Him, you, me, and every single one of us are one, and one and the same. Like a mother, she doesn't make any difference. She has 5 kids. She loves them all, mother. For her, they are all her kids. Just like that is God. So, He can see the whole picture. So don't worry. He knows. She knows. You should resort to the knowledge of the supreme goal, because those who undertake inferior actions, who thirst for rewards, who are driven by results, are pitiable. Well, this is again, sometimes it's a little, severe. The Lord is, He wants us to understand that we are miserable. If we get attached, if we are like, I want this, I want this, I want this, and if it doesn't happen, it's like, and again, and if it does happen, you embrace it in such a way that you cannot give it up. Evenness of mind, equanimity in success and failure, that's the secret. A porter carries the luggage of a railway passenger from one platform to another. This is an example made given by an Indian Swami. And in India, most of the travels are done by train, and they are always packed full. You know, those who've been there, they know. And people are carrying. So people help. There is a porter that helps, and somebody like you or me might like to help someone. So what happens? You see this man, the porter, who carries the luggage, and there is someone who just wants to help. So what's the difference? A porter carries the luggage of the railway passenger from one platform to another. A co-passenger also carries for him one or two bundles of his, with a helpful attitude. Though the action is the same for the porter and the co-passenger, their attitudes differ widely. The one works for a wage and the other for love. The wage earner remains a servant, while the other evolves in mind. The majority of the world works like the wage earner and make themselves wretched. But a few work for love's sake, expecting nothing in return. Is it clear? What is the attitude that we should have? Even when it comes to us, to what we want, to what we desire, the same attitude. Just do what you have to do, but offer everything to God. That way, you'll just be happy, I tell you that. They ever assume the role of a giver and never that of a grabber. The more the water from a well is bailed out, the more fresh water sprouts in it. The more a man acts for duty's sake, seeking nothing in return, the more he grows in yoga. What is this? Few work for love's sake. Let me share something with you. There is a philosopher called Jacques Derrida, or Derrida, am I saying it right? Derrida, there you go. I liked it. He says, for a love that is born from God is a love that gives with the same reflex as that which causes a bird to sing or the heart to beat. The love that arises from God is a love that loves anonymously, a love that acts without self-centered reflections, that gives without thoughts. I think it's beautiful. God cannot remain unmoved if you have something called Raga Bhakti. What is Raga Bhakti? Love of God with passionate attachment to Him. Do you know how fond God is of His devotees' love? It is like the cow's fondness for fodder mixed with oil cake. The cow gobbles it down greedily. He devours it. That's how God feels for His devotees. Raga Bhakti is pure love of God, a love that seeks God alone and not any worldly end. I'm giving you both, the understanding of the evenness of the mind, the yoga, and how to do it. We are supposed to harmonize all these yogas. This is what I'm kind of proud about Swami Vivekananda's teaching, that we have to harmonize these 4 yogas. Raga Bhakti is pure love of God, a love that seeks God alone and not any worldly end. Suppose you go to a wealthy man every day, but you seek no favor of him. You simply love to see him. This is the case of Swami Vivekananda. There was a time where Sri Ramakrishna wanted to test Swamiji. In those days, his name was Narendra. And he started being indifferent towards him. But Sri Ramakrishna didn't care. He kept coming.
Swamiji, you said
Oh. You see, my mind is... Swami Vivekananda did not, Narendra did not care then. He kept coming. So after a while, after a few days, Sri Ramakrishna told him the truth. Hey, why are you coming here? And he said, I just come here because I love to see you. Suppose you go to a wealthy man every day, but you seek no favor of him. You simply love to see him. If he wants to show you a favor, you say, no, sir, I don't need anything. I came just to see you. Such is love of God for its own sake. You simply love God and don't want anything from him in return. Let's close here. Any questions?
Yes. What does passionate attachment to God look like? And by that, do you mean attachment in the mode of Raja?
Rajasic.
Yes.
Could be Rajasic, Tamasic. Passionate.
Is that a good thing or bad?
No, when it comes to God, you should be mad for God. God is the only attachment allowed.
That makes sense. Maybe it should be in the mode of that.
He will set you free.
Sounds good to me.
Remember the Lord of the Rings? My precious thing? That should be your God.
He's referring to the Lord of the Rings.
The ring?
Or my precious.
I'm more of a Ramayan fan compared to Lord of the Rings.
Okay, then Hanuman for Rama.
Okay.
He was ready to kill anyone. Tamasic.
Yeah. He did swallow the sun.
Anybody else would like to say something? We'll keep working on this. There will be more love, and then we will jump into verse number 50 next class. All right. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. You're welcome.